Everybody thinks the real drama ends when the cameras stop rolling. But sometimes, that's when it actually begins. We watched them scream, cry, accuse, beg, marry, divorce, and promise forever under the bright lights of TLC. We argued about them on X. We dragged them on Reddit. We defended them in YouTube comments like we personally knew them. And then one day, they were just gone. No update special. No big breakup episode. No emotional, where are they now? Just silence. And here's what most viewers never stop to question. Why do some of the most dramatic 90-Day Fiancé stars completely disappear right after giving us their most explosive seasons? Not fade a little. Not post less. Disappear. If you've ever felt like something didn't add up, like the story ended too neatly or too abruptly, you're not crazy. There are pieces TLC didn't fully connect on screen. Within minutes of certain finales airing, cast members would wipe their Instagram bios clean. TikTok accounts would go dark. Old photos would quietly vanish. Reddit threads would explode with speculation. And instead of clarification, we got nothing. And before we go deeper, if you're someone who watches this franchise and constantly thinks, they're not telling us everything, you're exactly who this channel is for. This isn't about blind hate or blind loyalty. It's about connecting the dots that production leaves scattered. Stick with me, because the pattern you're about to see isn't random. Let's start with someone who once felt impossible to ignore, Mohamed Jbali from 90-Day Fiancé. His season was chaos. Tears. Immigration accusations. That infamous tell-all confrontation that had viewers clutching their phones. He was painted as calculating, cold, using marriage as a ticket. And Danielle, emotional, betrayed, explosive. After the divorce, Mohamed became one of the most talked about villains in franchise history. And then, he slowly rebuilt. He started posting motivational captions, fitness updates, then truck driving content, a complete image reset. But here's the strange part, he gradually stepped away from the spotlight that once defined him. No spin-off chasing, no messy Instagram lives, no public feud marathons. Fans on Reddit began noticing that he rarely engaged with the franchise anymore. No commentary, no reunion cameos, just distance. And here's the early reveal. Insiders quietly hinted that some cast members who refuse certain production narratives don't get invited back. Not officially banned, just excluded. Think about that. If the villain stops playing villain, what use is he to a reality storyline? But Mohamed isn't the only one who slipped into silence. Remember Larissa Lima? She gave TLC explosive fights, police involvement, cosmetic transformation storylines, viral one-liners that still circulate on TikTok. She understood the assignment. She delivered chaos. And then one day, she was gone from the network. Officially, it was described as a contract violation linked to outside content creation. But here's where it gets layered. After her departure, Larissa leaned fully into a new digital life. Adult content platforms, independent monetization, total control over her own narrative. And that's when the fan base split in half. On Instagram, she's empowered. On Reddit, she burned bridges. On X, TLC used her and then dropped her. But here's the uncomfortable question nobody wanted to sit with. What happens when a cast member realizes they can make more money without the network? Power shifts. And when power shifts, relationships break. This is where everything quietly fell apart for many reality stars. The fame they were given wasn't ownership. It was temporary access. Some tried to renegotiate that access. Others walked away. A few were pushed. And then there's Geoffrey Paschel. His storyline was intense, complicated, romantic in moments, dark in others. But when serious legal issues surfaced, something unusual happened. He wasn't invited to the tell-all. That decision spoke louder than any statement. Online, fans dissected it for months. Was TLC protecting itself? Was it distancing from controversy? Was the editing intentionally softened to avoid liability? And then his presence faded entirely from the franchise ecosystem. No spin-off, no redemption arc, no reunion closure, just a gap in the narrative. I know what you're thinking. Some disappearances are obvious. Legal trouble, contract issues, scandals. But listen to this. Some cast members vanished even without public scandal. Take Nicole Nafziger and Azan Tefou. Their storyline stretched across seasons. Financial sacrifice, cultural tension, the infamous, almost there, lazy, moment that became meme history. Fans were obsessed, but eventually, updates became vague. Wedding plans postponed, money questions left hanging, and then Nicole just stopped appearing. Her social media shifted away from relationship drama. No big announcement, no dramatic finale. Reddit threads spiraled. Was it fake? Did TLC protect Azan? Did Nicole finally see the truth? But here's the part nobody was ready for. Several former production assistants have anonymously hinted that some storylines are extended long past their emotional expiration date because viewers are still reacting. Which means sometimes, what you think is a real-time relationship might already be emotionally over behind the scenes. Let that sit for a second. What if the breakup already happened, but the footage you're watching was filmed months earlier? And that's when the truth finally slipped out, quietly. After filming ends, cast members often sign strict confidentiality clauses. They can't contradict the storyline until it airs. They can't reveal certain timelines. They can't publicly clarify edits. So when the season wraps and viewers demand answers, sometimes the cast can't legally give them. And frustration builds. Some withdraw entirely instead of fueling speculation. Others try to fight back online, and end up isolating themselves further from the franchise. This is where the mid-story twist changes everything. It's not always TLC pushing them out. Sometimes, disappearing is self-preservation. Because here's what viewers don't see, the psychological whiplash. Imagine being edited into a villain overnight. Your DMs fill with hate. Your job opportunities shift. Your family gets dragged into Facebook groups. Brands hesitate. For some cast members, the only way to regain control is to vanish. Delete the noise. Rebuild quietly. Change industries. And just when you think that's the whole story, it gets bigger. Because there's a pattern in who gets redemption edits and who doesn't. Fan favorites with strong engagement often get follow-up specials, sympathetic arcs, spin-offs, but polarizing figures who threaten production narratives. They're more likely to fade out. Not officially blacklisted, just not called back. And if you've been paying attention this whole time, you already see it. But what happened next made everything before this look small. A few former cast members started speaking off camera, not in explosive interviews, but in subtle podcast comments. They mentioned mental health strain, financial misunderstandings, being encouraged to lean into conflict for better footage. Lean into it. In other words, amplify the worst parts of your relationship for storyline value. Now imagine doing that, and then being judged by millions for the amplified version of yourself. This is where many disappearances begin. The fame feels intoxicating at first. Cameo money flows. Instagram followers skyrocket. Clubs offer paid appearances. Then the season ends, and the spotlight moves on. Income drops. DMs slow. Production stops calling. You're left with the echo of who viewers think you are. Some chase the spotlight harder. Others choose silence. And here's the loyalty reminder. If you're still watching this breakdown, you already know this franchise is more complex than the memes make it look. That's why we dig deeper here. Not for gossip, for clarity. But here's the most devastating layer. A few former cast members who vanished didn't do it because of scandal or strategy. They did it because real life hit harder than reality TV ever could. Family illness, custody battles, financial collapse. Private trauma that never made it to air. And the audience, we assumed they were chasing clout or hiding guilt, when sometimes, they were just surviving. This is where everything shifts emotionally. Because the disappearance isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. A final Instagram post. Comments turned off. Bio changed to something neutral. And then nothing. No goodbye tour. No closure episode. Just a digital ghost of a season that once dominated your screen. And that's the part TLC never fully explains. Reality TV thrives on beginnings and explosions. Not quiet endings. But real life is mostly quiet endings. So when you think about those 90-day Fiancé stars who completely disappeared after the dramatic seasons, ask yourself this. Were they erased? Or did they finally take control in the only way they could? Because sometimes the biggest plot twist isn't the breakup. It's the silence after. And here's the question that divides fans every time. If you were edited into the worst version of yourself for millions to judge, would you fight to stay relevant? Or would you disappear too? There are more stories like this. More dots that don't line up cleanly. And some of them are even messier than what we talked about today. The spotlight may fade, but the truth, it doesn't disappear.